Throughout American history, 3 presidential assassinations have sent shockwaves through the nation, each one altering the very fabric of American society. The assassinations of Abraham Lincoln, James A. Garfield, and John F. Kennedy weren't just moments of personal tragedy. They were pivotal events that reshaped the country's political landscape and left a profound impact on its future. In today's video, we'll explore the gripping stories behind these heartbreaking moments, uncovering how each tragedy sent ripples of change across the nation and forever etched these presidents' legacies into the American consciousness. Let's start with the first, and arguably the most infamous assassination in U.S. history, the murder of Abraham Lincoln. April 14th, 1865. The Civil War has just come to an end, and the United States is beginning to heal from years of conflict. President Abraham Lincoln, who led the nation through its darkest period, was in a celebratory mood. After a long day of meetings, he and his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, attended a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. The play, Our American Cousin. But as the nation celebrated, a dark fate was about to unfold. At around 10:15 p.m., John Wilkes Booth, a well-known actor and Confederate sympathizer, entered the presidential box at Ford's Theater. With a single shot from a Derringer pistol, Booth struck Lincoln in the back of the head. The assassination was a calculated act of vengeance against the president, who, in Booth's eyes, was responsible for the defeat of the South in the Civil War. After shooting Lincoln, Booth leapt from the box onto the stage, shouting, "Sic semper tyrannis," thus always to tyrants, before fleeing the scene. Lincoln was rushed to a nearby boarding house, where doctors did what they could, but by 7:22 a.m. on April 15, 1865, he died. The nation was plunged into mourning, and the death of one of the most revered presidents in American history sent shockwaves throughout the world. Booth was pursued by authorities and was ultimately cornered in a barn in Virginia. He was shot and killed by Union soldiers on April 26th, just 12 days after the assassination. Fast forward to July 2nd, 1881. The United States is now a nation in the midst of industrialization, political reform, and increasing political tensions. President James A. Garfield, just a few months into his presidency, found himself in the middle of a political battle. Garfield had been elected on a platform of civil service reform, seeking to end the spoils system that rewarded political favors with government jobs. On that fateful summer day, Garfield was at the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station in Washington, D.C., when he was shot twice by Charles J. Guiteau, a disgruntled office seeker who believed he deserved a government position. Guiteau, who had been denied a job in Garfield's administration, blamed the president for his personal failure and sought revenge. The shooting was a public spectacle. Guiteau, after shooting Garfield, calmly walked away from the scene, even stating to bystanders, "I am a stalwart, and Arthur is president now," referring to Vice President Chester A. Arthur, who would succeed Garfield. Garfield, though severely wounded, did not die immediately. He was taken to the White House, where doctors attempted to save him, but the lack of medical knowledge at the time only worsened his condition. In fact, doctors' unsterilized hands and instruments likely led to a fatal infection. For 80 days, Garfield lingered, suffering from the effects of the bullet wounds and infections. He died on September 19, 1881, making his assassination one of the longest to culminate in death. Guiteau was arrested, tried, and ultimately executed by hanging on June 30, 1882. The assassination led to a reevaluation of how U.S. presidents were protected, and it pushed Congress to pass the Pendleton Civil Service Reform Act in 1883, which aimed to reduce political patronage. Now we fast forward to the 1960s, a time of immense political change, civil rights movements, and Cold War tensions. John F. Kennedy, the nation's 35th president, was in the midst of one of the most dynamic periods in modern American history. But on November 22, 1963, his life was tragically cut short in one of the most shocking events in American history. It was a crisp Friday afternoon in Dallas, Texas. Kennedy was traveling in a motorcade with his wife, Jacqueline. Texas Governor John Connally and his wife Nellie. As the motorcade moved through Dealey Plaza, a series of shots rang out. Kennedy was struck twice, once in the upper back and again in the head. The fatal shot hit him in the head, and the impact was instantly catastrophic. Kennedy was rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital, but by 1 p.m., the young president was pronounced dead. Lee Harvey Oswald, a former Marine, was arrested shortly after the assassination. Oswald had fired the fatal shots from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository building. He was charged with the murder of Kennedy, but before he could stand trial, he was shot and killed by nightclub owner Jack Ruby on live television. Kennedy's assassination was an event that shook the entire world. It marked the end of an era of optimism, of the Camelot vision Kennedy had presented. His death sparked widespread conspiracy theories that still endure to this day, with many questioning whether Oswald acted alone or if there was a larger conspiracy behind the tragedy. In the aftermath, Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in as the 36th president aboard Air Force One on the tarmac at Dallas Love Field Airport. Abraham Lincoln, James A. Garfield, and John F. Kennedy, 3 men, each tragically cut down in their prime. Their deaths left indelible marks on the nation and on the world. While their assassinations were different in their context and circumstances, all 3 men were beloved by many, yet hated by others, and their deaths sparked national mourning and widespread consequences. Lincoln's assassination marked the beginning of a nation's recovery after the Civil War. Garfield's death led to major reforms in government practices, and Kennedy's untimely death ushered in a new era of political and social turmoil, while also solidifying his place as a beloved figure in American history. The question remains, why were these men targeted? The motives of their assassins reveal deep divisions in American society, from the wounds of the Civil War to political tensions, to the fear and resistance to the changes Kennedy represented. Today, these tragedies are not only moments of reflection, but also crucial lessons about the fragility of leadership, the price of political change, and the weight of history. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the darkest chapters of American history. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our past.